I'm excited to be back with you guys today. We do have another special guest on. I feel like you guys really like my guest episodes, and I really enjoy them because I'm able to not just feel like I'm rambling. I feel like I'm really rambling at someone. It's a difference. It makes a difference. And on today's episode, if you're not watching this on YouTube and you haven't seen my thousands of TikToks or Instagram posts about it, we do have the original Southern Mama, my Southern Mama, Brandi, on the other line. I'm so excited to have her here. And we're going to be talking about her extreme weight loss journey. But more than that, we're going to be talking about her motivation to getting to this place to where she is now a fitness coach and she works with teams of people and just really kind of turned her life around in the fitness arena, which is incredible. And I know that there's a lot of people that are thinking about that. I've had a lot of people asking me about it after having nutritionists on, and she was just the next step. We actually talked about her in my last episode with Kat when we were talking about nutrition, some of the people that she's coaching. And so it just felt like a natural next step to have her on this episode. So, hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so
You doing
excited to
good?
be here. I'm super nervous, but that's good.
Don't be nervous. And now that I can hear her voice in my headphones, I noticed that we talk very similarly. And I'll give this little background story because my sister says this too. When we talk to people on the phone, when we talk to people on videos, we have it's not a monotone voice, but it's a very like professional, structured voice, right? And so when people meet me in person and I have more of a Southern twang, or you see my Southern Mama videos and they're like, how do you have this Southern accent? But when I talk to you in real life, you don't really talk like that, or you don't sound like that on your podcast. Well, my mom did have a strong Southern accent, and I feel like she and my dad worked with me and my sister and made sure that we didn't have that crazy twang. Like when I was in kindergarten, first grade, and saw videos of myself like, hey, daddy, want to come play a game? Like, I feel like my parents were like, you're never going to get a job. And my sister's like, yeah, I remember like having to practice different words. And my mom would be talking to us in her Southern accent or getting on us about something. And then as soon as the phone would ring, her voice would automatically switch to her
Right.
more professional tone. So if you think
It's
we
funny.
sound alike, that's probably why we were both trained to sound this way.
Well, I do have the natural, like if I talk to my dad on the phone, I know it takes me like 3 days to lose that because it's like, hey daddy, how you doing? I mean,
Exactly.
but
Same.
I train doctors and nurses during my day job, and you do get, and because I also talk really fast. So you kind of train yourself to lose the accent, to slow down, to enunciate. You only have that one time where somebody says, she talks too fast, and you learn to adjust really quick. So that's probably why, because I started doing that when y'all were younger. And so you saw me probably practicing in front of the mirror to not talk so fast. But my friends, if they talk to me at work, they're like, girl, I wouldn't know that was you if you didn't say your name. I'm like, I know, right? That's my work voice.
That's what people tell me too. I'm like, yeah, I guess I get it from my mama. It's real. I get told I talk too fast all the time. Stuart has friends or family friends that have listened to the podcast, and they were like, I don't know how you ever understand anything she says. She talks so fast. And I'm like, really? I was slowing it
So
down.
this is the perfect time to let everybody know that we are from the South, and people from the South don't all talk like this. We talk like this. And
Exactly. We
when
talk
we're
like this, like
in
hyperactive.
exactly. When I'm in meetings at work and we're running out of time, they'll say, "Let's let Brandy explain it." And I'm like, "Do not use my superpowers when they benefit you, because they also will complain that I talk too fast any other time."
Yeah.
So,
So if me and my mom are on like speakerphone with each other and and I'm driving, and like when we go to the beach, sometimes I'll have her on speakerphone and I'll be talking to her, and Stuart's eyes are just going back and forth. He cannot he's like, I didn't hear half of that. Like I was like, don't repeat that. He's like, repeat what? I didn't hear anything. He's like, it's literally when you're on the phone with your mom or when you're on the phone with Heather, who's my best friend. He's like, I never know what the heck y'all are talking about. So oh, and another thing, and I probably should have told you this beforehand, Mom. We cuss real bad, and this podcast is family friendly, so that is probably the biggest thing that I've had to work on since having this
I was going
podcast
to
is
say,
not cussing as much.
I do listen to podcasts, and I have realized that you do not cuss. And so I have already worked on adjusting my normal vernacular so that we do not cuss.
Because it's not that I feel like a cuss word really kind of amps up what you're talking about. Like it
Right.
really is the punctuation on the sentence that you need sometimes. And it doesn't all have to be trashy curse words, in my opinion. But I do want this to be a podcast where, because I've had podcasts before that I loved and I wanted to listen to them again on a road trip going to Wilmington. We're back and forth a lot. And if they're cussing or if they're talking about something that's just wildly inappropriate and you have little kids in the car, you're like, well, I can't even enjoy it because I'm not going to be driving with
Right.
headphones or whatever. So I tried to make this so that it was more family friendly and appropriate. And so had to give that disclaimer to you, Mom, but also to you guys. If there ever is an episode where that's just simply not the case, or we're talking about an extremely heavy topic, I will let you know well ahead of time. So now that we've had a nice introduction of why we talk the way that we talk, we can go ahead and talk a little bit more about you in today's episode. So I mentioned it a little bit. We're going to talk about extreme weight loss in this episode. We're going to touch on a couple things because, like, I personally, we have people in our life now that are on Wegovy, Ozempic. We have people that have had weight loss surgeries. We have had people that don't have a good relationship with food and are maybe losing weight in an incorrect way or gaining weight in an incorrect way. And people just in all different, or people that are on their fitness journey and kind of crushing their goals and they're staying on target. So I wanted to talk to you because you have been able to kind of go through those different cycles, even having cycles where you're doing really well, or maybe you're not in the best space with your fitness journey. And so I just wanted to kind of speak firsthand with someone who had gone from the side of it where they were overweight, feeling however they were feeling about their body. And now they're able to coach people into feeling confident and strong about their bodies. So the first thing I just want to ask, and I do try to ask this in every episode when I have a guest on talking about a specific topic, is just go back to the root a little bit and just tell me a little bit about what your first memory of your body was, body image, how you saw yourself. I know for me, it was dance. When I walked into the dance studio and there was costume week, and they would take that measuring tape out and they would measure each of us in front of the whole class. And there would be a couple kids that would have the bigger measuring and they would put them on one side of the room, the smaller measurement on the other side. And then for me, they would always talk about, oh, well, I don't know if we can get it in this size because she's so tall. Her legs are too long. And that is my first time that I was thinking about my body, was that tape measure going around me in that dance class. So what was that feeling for you?
So it's kind of, think about like any child, and we don't know that we're not good enough. We don't know that we shouldn't like ourselves until, am I going to cry already? We've been on here for 30 seconds. Until
No, don't.
somebody, until somebody tells us that we shouldn't like ourselves, until somebody lets us know that we are not good enough to their standards or to society's
Mm-hmm.
standards. And so I can remember in elementary school, we were taking a picture and we had to sit on this box. And I was a chubby little kid. And so, but I always played sports and stuff. So I was an active kid, but I was a chubby
Mm-hmm.
little kid. And we had to sit on this box, and a boy made a comment about my butt would barely fit on the box. And it's funny because you don't always think about that stuff until you start, like you said, thinking about the first time that you really realize, like, oh, I'm bigger than everybody else. And people don't
Mm-hmm.
like that, or it's not okay to
Yeah.
be like that. And then Ganna, who was on a few weeks ago, put me on Weight Watchers when I was 12. So you start, yeah. That's when
Wait,
she was
what?
making 9,000. When she was making
They let
$9,000 a year, they had me on
they
damn
would
Weight Watchers. No.
allow they had kids on Weight Watchers? Wait, I didn't know that was
Oh
a
yeah,
thing. It might still be a thing.
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know how it
Wow.
is now, but back then you had the little like paper brochures, and you had to go to meetings. And yeah, I was on Weight Watchers when I was 12. Um, uh, my biological dad owns a hunting club, so I hung out with the
Mhm.
fellas all the time when I was younger. I was always with the boys. I was hunting, I was fishing, I was one of the guys. I was always there. And when I was 13, I would go to his house and stay for like a lot of the summer, and then every other weekend. And so when I was 13, he said in front of all of these boys, like their dads and the boys who were teenagers,
Right.
she's going to lose weight this summer if her boobs fall off. So,
What? I don't even
talk
understand what that means. Oh, just
well,
saying like
but
he was going to demand of it pretty much.
right. So, and he was overweight as a teenager. So he probably understood how it felt more than other people. But at the same time, think about being a barely teenage girl in front of all guys, not another woman in the place, teenage boys, and your dad says she's going to lose weight if her boobs fall off. Like, no matter what's
Mm,
going to happen, like she's going to do it. So
yeah.
it's kind of one of those things where, and Papa Johnson, who I'm named after and we love to death, would call me Bertha
Love.
Butt. Bertha Butt was
Yeah.
my nickname. And so it's things where
Hmm.
even when people don't mean it in a terrible way, it all adds up to where you know that on some level, you're not good enough for them. And that's when the cycle starts of the dieting and the gaining and the dieting and the gaining and the dieting when we're preteen teenagers.
And when, I mean, I don't know if you would even remember, but when you were going to the doctor, I mean, you were active. I know you did softball, like you played sports, you were in the hunting club. Like, was your doctor like, we're concerned about this or that? Or were they just like, she's a kid, her body's going to be her body. And it was more just like a social issue?
Right. I don't really remember like pediatricians and stuff say it because I wasn't like a
Right.
huge kid, but I was a chubbier. Like if I look back at pictures, I was a chubbier kid. But
I've
I
seen pictures of you as a kid and I wouldn't have considered you a chubby kid. But again,
right.
yeah, I just wouldn't
Yeah.
have.
Well, but then also had Aunt Sandy and Aunt Tracy who were both this big around, soaking
Your
wet.
sisters, yeah.
So comparatively speaking, I was bigger than them and the youngest. I'm like, I got all the leftovers. Y'all got all the good stuff. What's up with that? So, but I never remember like a pediatrician saying anything. But when I got older, doctors would say, you need to eat less and move more. And I'm like,
Hmm.
that's the only advice I get.
Right. And if you guys
Yeah,
need more nutrition advice, go listen to the last episode with Kat, where she was talking about how that is not all you need to do. Like,
exactly.
because even bringing in what she said in that last episode, and I'm sure you're going to touch on this later as well, she was like, that is kind of the rhetoric that you're fed over and over, that if there is any kind of imbalance, oh, it's automatically you eat too much and you move too little. And yes, that is a
Right.
component, but she was like, your body is such a big spectrum. Like, how much quality sleep are you getting? How much stress are you under? You said you would have to go to your dad's house on the weekend, which means that your parents were separating or separated.
They were
You know, how much stress
divorced.
was that
That's
putting on
right.
you? Were you having to hear them argue? Were you having to meet new partners? Were you of theirs? Were you having to, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of
Right.
stress that you're under too, plus hearing these comments and having them, all of that. She was like, it's all a big picture, which I know that we'll talk about later in the episode as well. But it's just crazy that, we have come a very long way in being able to educate people on these things, but that was just the
Right.
advice is crazy. And that you
Well,
had
and
to deal with those things so early on.
right. And it starts that negative reel that plays on repeat in your mind forever. And it starts with
Hmm.
those little comments that people made, even if they didn't mean anything by it. But that's what you hear. So, like, I love my dad. Like Papa Ron raised me, my stepdad. A lot of times when I'm talking about my dad, I'm talking about Ron, but my real dad, I mean, I love him. We get along great. We don't have any issues. I just didn't grow up in the same house with him.
Right.
But here last year when I had the second surgery on my nose, I sent him a picture of the big bandage, and he said, "Hey, Trista's been showing me your videos. I hope you know how proud I am of you." And
Mm.
here I go again. I remember just like Moose was driving me home, and I just looked out the window, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to start crying. And I was thinking, I'm 50.
Right.
That's the first time I've ever heard that. Now, Papa Ron, I know all day, every day that he's proud of me. But my dad, who again, I love so much, they're just very different people. That's the first time that he's ever said it out loud. And I was like, how the hell would I know? Oh, sorry. How the heck would I know? And it's one of those things that you don't even know you need to hear until you hear it. And then it's like,
Yeah.
wow. So it's
And it is
crazy.
crazy how impactful people's words are, because it's something that I have had to work on a lot. And, thinking back on things, and now I'm raising a daughter myself, little things that I've heard said to me. I mean, there's so much that you can read and learn, and you can deep dive and go too far in one direction, too far in the other direction. But what you are saying to your kids and creating that stable environment is huge. And the relationship that you have with their body and the food that they're is just as important, because it's the building blocks. It's literally building the foundation of what they're going to think of themselves. Like, a lot of times the voice in people's heads is going to be someone that was present during their early developmental years, a mom, a dad, your own voice, but it's their words. And so it's like, you just want them to hear those. I'm so proud of you. I love you so much. And not the, let me just give you a trophy to give you a trophy. Like, if they're really working hard on something, even if it's something you don't understand, Lila was busting her butt to build some house in Roblox and to get a job. I don't know what that means. I don't really care to know what it means, but she worked really hard. She was like, I got the job in Roblox. And I was like, I'm so proud of you. I know you worked so hard on that. Your hard work is really paying off.
Right.
Like, that's really, I mean, all that I can really say. I'm not going to turn to her something she's working hard on and be like, that's not good enough. You should have been cleaning your room. You should have been doing like, and put that voice up. If I'm not doing these things that everyone thinks I should be doing, I'm not doing it right. Just like with you. If I'm not fitting into a size X, Y, and Z that these other people are fitting into, then, it's okay to embarrass me in front of groups of people or make comments about me or my body. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah.
So
Well, when I
that's
was
crazy.
Lila's age, my middle, like, I'm the youngest, and then Sandy, and then Tracy. So Sandy's 4 years older than me. And when I was Lila's age, I could wear Sandy's pants. And I remember her friend Fran Chell, who I also love, saying, "Girl, what are you doing wearing your, like, why are you able to wear her pants?" Because I was too big in their mind. And it's like, at the time, I don't think about it that way. But when you get older, you're like, she was calling me fat. It's just,
So, yeah.
Right.
And I had the same thing, because I was the biggest girl in my dance group, but it was because I was a lot taller, and they'd be like, well, the pyramid looks off because Shelby's head is sticking 10 feet above everybody else. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Cut my kneecaps off, girl? Like, I mean, seriously, what can I do about that? So sorry, honey, but I had to go front and center, baby. You had to put me front and center. That's the only place.
Yeah. I know how to balance this out. Just put me in the front. Well, I'll be good.
Right. Exactly. You're like, you're lucky that I could fit into her clothes, because you wouldn't be able to keep up with my budget for my outfits.
Right.
You just wouldn't be able to. So, okay. So the next kind of question I was going to ask about that, you've touched on, and I want to talk about what you touched on. It's just kind of, you were impacted by your size, by the comments and stuff that people were making. But the first time that you tried to work on your body, it sounds like it wasn't even you that was able to make that decision. It was your mom was putting you on Weight Watchers. And that just kind of makes me feel like even more that seed is planted to where your body is out of your control, is what I hear from that. It's like saying, like, well, I don't have a choice, if I get to participate in these things. And I completely understand parents needing to put their children on specific diets. You and Dad had to put me on an extremely strict diet for like 6 to 8 months or something, I think.
Yeah.
Because I was having such horrible allergic reactions to so many foods and whatever. So I completely understand that kind of stuff needs to happen. But was there any discretion? Was she like, we're going to have fun foods every now and then? Or was it like hardcore, you're only eating these things in the spot?
It was very inconsistent, because to think about how much, things have changed over the years.
Right.
So it would be something where you go to the meeting, you get the brochure, you weigh in every week. And then sometimes we would eat healthy, but overall as a family, we didn't eat very healthy. So it's not like they were making me separate meals. It's like, if we ordered pizza, I ate pizza. She would buy me the Weight Watchers ice cream sandwiches. I'd eat all 6 of them. I mean, it was just something where, it wasn't really structured, and it wasn't something where it's like, you know what, we're all going to eat healthier because it's just what's good for us. So, if I look at how Lila is raised in comparison, she's eaten healthy food her entire life. Like, She loves it.
Yeah.
And it's not like she doesn't get a scoop of ice cream sometimes or make homemade cookies sometimes, but it's not the norm that that's okay to just eat that all day, every day. And your brother was 5. I mean, he's almost 19. He was 5 when I really, truly started doing this.
Yeah.
And he's the same way. He will seriously get a bag of
Mhm.
broccoli, microwave it, take a fork, and go in his room and eat that bag of broccoli as a snack. I mean, and it's not to say he doesn't go sometimes and get a pizza and eat the whole thing by himself, or go get like a triple cheeseburger from Wendy's and eat it, because he also plays football and works out a lot. But probably 95% of the time, he eats super healthy. And it's just because that's all he knows.
Right. Like when he's ready to go and grab a snack, he's used to the snacks that you grabbed. And I remember when the shift started happening. So just, obviously we're talking about your earlier life, but when you had me in your earlier life in your 20s. And so I remember, we had Bojangles, Wendy's, McDonald's, mac and cheese, a lot. And, that was kind of the norm for us. And then I do remember when I was like in high school, which me and my brother are about 12 years apart, who she was referring to, Richie. So we're about 12 years apart. So I was in high school and he was probably about to start kindergarten. And that's when we started doing like the crock pot vegetables and beef stew meals. And we started doing more of like the baked chicken and the oven. Like things just started changing. We weren't doing like pizzas and fast foods and stuff as much. And we did. We just really started kind of making that shift. And then I moved out, obviously, but I do remember kind of was an impact that changes the whole family.
Right.
So for you to have to be kind of pulled out and isolated, because I could imagine it could be frustrating to be like, well, I don't have control. I have to go into this room full of strangers and step on a scale in front of everybody, but you're 12 and you have no control over the food that is put in your kitchen or your pantry. And so, like you said, if the family's eating pizza, you're eating pizza, but then you go into the group and your coach is like, why aren't you losing any weight? Like I could just see that being a very
Yep.
discouraging cycle because it is so inconsistent.
Right.
So what do you think was the first time that you were able to take control? Was it when when your youngest was 5 and you were, how old do you think you were
No,
then? I'm trying to do the
I
math.
have tried
30?
every weight loss. Yeah, I was 32 when Richie was 5. No, I was 32 when he was born. So I was more like 37 when I really, really
7,
started.
okay.
But I have tried because I've done Weight Watchers as an adult on my own. I've done um, Jenny Craig. I've done TOPS, which is taking off pounds sensibly. It's like a support group. Um,
Mhm.
Anything I've tried diet drugs, earlier on, anything you can think of, I have tried it. There was a program that was like, if you ate this many meals on plan, you could have this many meals off plan. I did the Carolina cookie diet, girl, because we're from North Carolina. Look it up. I got to eat cookies all day, but they were like protein cookies. I mean, I have done, if you think about it, what's the Slim Fast shakes? I've
Mhm.
done it all. So
I
I can tell
remember
you the
Deanna
things
giving
that
me those.
do not work. Yeah. So
It's crazy.
I was in college and as an adult, because your brother was like 5 and I'm a grandma.
Yeah.
So I was in college and I had to I was in a health and fitness class just as a elective, you had to take it. And we had to do a plan. And I don't know, at the time I was dating a graphic designer and I had him draw me as I was, which was 300 pounds, 298, but who's counting? But he drew me just as I was. And then he drew what I would look like if I lost 100 pounds. And so this is somebody I
Mhm.
had dated for like 4 years. And the whole time he was drawing me, I stood there and cried because in my mind, he's really looking at me for the first
Yeah.
time, which is not true. But in my mind, that's how I felt. And so I had this is what I look like now. This is what I look like if I lost 100 pounds. And I came up with a plan. And my teacher was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Like, it was just really cool. It was really neat.
Yeah.
Let me toot my own horn for my concept. It was really cool. And so I focused on nutrition only. And really, truly, the only thing I changed initially was food. And
Mhm.
one of the biggest things was, we love Bojangles, Bojangles. I cut out like the sweet teas and driving through and just getting those huge, because you drink so many calories that you don't even think about, the soda
Yeah.
and the tea. And I cut out a lot of that stuff. And I used to say, if it's got a window that you can drive through, it's not healthy. And so I
Yeah.
wouldn't do any of that stuff. So, like you said, we started cooking more at home, and then you can control the ingredients. And when I travel to North Carolina, if I'm coming to your house, I'm never worried because you guys eat really good. And it's not to say that you're perfect 100% of the time, which you shouldn't be because that's hard to sustain,
Right.
but you
Yeah.
guys eat really healthy the majority of the time. And so I don't ever have to go, "Oh my god, I'm going to Shelby's house. They're going to have this, and this. I'm going to gain 20 pounds this weekend." It's not like that. Um, so after I lost about 80 pounds on nutrition only, then I started walking. And that was really the only thing I
Mhm.
did for a while before I started adding in like resistance training and hiking and other things.
Nice. So that was kind of just that program, or not really, it wasn't really a program, but well, it is one that you built, was just kind of the starting point of you being able to, in my opinion, like take control of it and be like, okay, this is my decision. I can see the before. And you kind of gave yourself like a sneak peek of the after. I've seen people
Right.
do that on a trend on TikTok where they do like the TikTok AI generated, like, and they're like, this is my weight loss motivation. Because TikTok will always generate like a thinner framed person. And I thought that was interesting that that was kind of what kickstarted your journey as well. And we talked about this with Kat in the last episode. She was just talking about how nutrition really can play such a big role. And like you were saying, for us, it's easy for us to make cleaner choices. Like if I go into my kitchen right now, on the table, I'm looking at it, it's not a bowl full of chocolate chip cookies where it has been in the past, or a thing full of cupcakes that I made. It's apples and a banana. And so earlier when I wanted a snack, I just grabbed the banana because it's sitting right there. We always have strawberries washed in a bowl that's open in the refrigerator. So you just grab in and grab a handful. You're not having open containers and see what's in it. Like, make it as easy to grab as a bag of chips would be. And it'll just be like an easier choice to make, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Um,
No, you're exactly right.
so where
Because
were you
when you're
at?
starving,
Oh yeah,
you're
go
going to
ahead.
grab whatever's, yeah, like, well, what you're doing is 100% right, because when you're starving, you're going for quick and easy. And so it's so much faster to grab that bag of chips than to have to open the strawberries, rinse the strawberries, cut the strawberries. But if the strawberries are ready, you might grab the strawberries instead of the chips. And I don't have
Mhm.
the chips and the cookies at my house. And so I'm
Me
not going to
neither.
say there's not ever times where I want it, because I totally want it sometimes, but I'm not going to get in the car and go get it. But if it's here, I would eat it.
And that's kind of how I am with fast food too. And it's just, I feel like personally, I was burnt out of it just because when I was younger, I had it a lot. I would have it at your house. I would have it at my grandparents' house. I just had fast food a lot, and I just don't really care for it. And then after I had to go on that diet for all of my skin issues, when I got older, I started having those issues again. So I kind of just cut all of that sugar and starchy foods out. And it has just helped me maintain with my eczema and psoriasis and everything. Um, but the same with dinner foods. Like, yes, snack foods is obvious, but like you were saying, if there's a window that you can get the meal from, it's probably not healthy, and you just want something quick and easy. Like, I take 2 hours out of my Sunday to make the easiest, like most idiot proof meals. Like, I'll make that butternut squash soup and I'll have it in little mini grab containers, like not the big plastic containers, but the little plastic containers that you can just heat up and take on the go. If I know I'm going to be running around somewhere, I'll just grab a container of that. I'll already have stuff portioned out into little containers that I can just grab and throw in my car. Stuart can take in his lunchbox. Like, make it super, super simple. And then if there's a
Right.
night that you're like, I physically cannot make dinner tonight, I just can't do it. I can't be asked to do it. I don't want to. You'll just grab something and it's already ready. You just took two
Right.
hours and saved a ton of money. So
Exactly. It does
that's,
save a lot of
I
money.
feel like that's
Yep.
beneficial for everyone.
Right.
And you post a lot of your recipes and stuff on your Instagram, on your TikTok, and show people the macro breakdown, which I find extremely helpful. So quick plug right there is she's always posting on Transforming Brandi, and I'll make sure to give all that information at the end as well. But she always is posting recipes, telling you how much protein, telling you, the macro breakdown in the captions. And they're quick and they're easy, and it's stuff that you can, find anywhere. It's not these crazy obscure ingredients that you can't find at regular grocery stores, which I really like.
Yeah. It has to
So
be easy
when
or I'm
you
not
were
gonna
at
do
that
it.
point, right, same. When you were at that point where, you decided to make the change, do you feel like, you said you lost the 80 pounds. Did you feel like you were unhappy before you saw that before and after drawing? Like, where were you at mentally just even before you started that transformation?
So it's a loaded question. So it's kind of one of those things where I was definitely unhappy. And I never, oddly enough, because I can show you pictures of me 300 pounds, I was definitely a big girl, but I never really felt fat. I started to feel old because my knees hurt and my back hurt. And I'm like early 30s at this
Mm.
point. I'm like, why do I feel like this? Well, I'm carrying around 300 pounds, you know? So I really started to feel old. And I if I really think about how I was at that time, you know how people will use food as a reward or as comfort, you know?
Right.
I find that when you really talk to people and you really break down what they're using food for punishment. And so with me, if I had a bad day, because you're thinking, oh, I had a bad day, so I'm using food for comfort. But really, what you're doing is going, you know what? Nothing matters. I don't care. I'm not worthy. I'm never going to do this. I can't make it. I might as well just eat it. And not only are you going to feel
Mm.
bad physically, because a lot of times that stuff makes you feel like crap, right? You get the kind of the high from the sugar and then you crash. So
Right.
you feel bad physically, but you're also beating yourself up mentally because now you start that negative voice all over again. So when I can't do this, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to hit my
Mm.
goals. I'm stupid. I'm late, whatever. But your mind goes right back to that negative. I'm not good enough for this. And so when I think back to how I hated how I was. I hated that I let myself get that way. I hated that I couldn't just snap my fingers and fix it. What I really looking back on everything about life, and one thing you'll notice about me, and I don't know if you remember, is before I lost all my weight, I was so out of touch with my emotions. I had such a wall up because I had to be okay and I had to make sure you guys were okay. So I didn't cry that much, and now I cry all the damn time. So it's
Right.
a total difference. So when I start getting choked up, I laugh at myself because I'm like, I would have never done this before. So sometimes you have to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough, is what we say. So,
And you are more emotionally available, I think is the best
right.
word that I can think to describe it now. But that's interesting that you say, sorry. It's interesting that you say that you were using the food as the punishment because I do think that majority of people look at it as they're thinking that it's a reward system. Like, I want a sweet, I get a sweet. I want this, I get this. And it's like, no, actually, I felt like I couldn't do better than that. I felt like I couldn't get up and make the meals or I couldn't make the
Right.
healthier choices. And that's just a much different way of thinking about it than I would have ever
Right.
considered. Um, but it makes perfect sense. And I
Right.
feel like when you talk to your, now you're a coach, when you talk to people and you realize that a lot of them are probably going through the same thing, that's just, it breaks my heart because I don't want anybody to feel that way. And but I think it's good to have people be aware that I'm sure that can be seen as self-harm. Like it can be seen as a form
Right.
of
Yeah.
self-harm as well.
Well,
And most people don't think about that.
right. I think the people that have really like binge and purge issues realize that it's more of a punishment. But people that are
Right.
just like, well, today sucked. I'm going to go buy a bag of Oreos and a bag of Cheetos and I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to watch, baking shows on Netflix or whatever. You're going to feel terrible afterwards. And really, you're just punishing yourself more. It's kind of like when you're sad. Do you go listen to the most upbeat, perkiest dance around music? No, we play sad songs because we want
Right.
to feel it. We want to be more sad than we already are. And so when I'm already having a bad day, I want it to be even worse. And I'm going to go and eat the stuff I know I shouldn't eat because it's going to make me feel bad physically and mentally. And then
Mm.
I'm just proving to myself once again that I'm not good enough. And we
What is
do
it? That
that. And
confirmation bias?
yeah, exactly. And if you really stop and think about it, and I know you haven't struggled with your weight to the same degree. I know you've had times like, when you were pregnant and then afterwards having to lose weight. And I know you've struggled in different ways. And
Mhm.
when people are really overweight or struggling with the way they feel in their own skin, if they would stop and make a list of everything they're giving up. So, you have a big event coming up the end of this month. Well, if I still weigh 300 pounds, it would be hard for me to show up because in my mind, I want to go. I don't have any clothes that fit. I don't look good in anything. I don't want to go to an event where I have to dress up, or I don't want to go to the park with Lila or Landon or Chance because I can't run around and keep up with them. Or, I
Yeah.
have people in my group that if they go to a big amusement park or something, they have to be on one of those little rascal things to ride around because they can't physically walk that far. And your first instinct is to not go. I don't want to be a burden. But if you think about all the things you're giving up, I don't want to go eat dinner with my friends because I don't know if I'll fit in the booth. You know what I mean? If
Hmm.
you think about everything you're giving up because of your weight, and then thinking about the few things that you would have to give up to be healthier, what's really harder? Are you really living your
Right.
life right now? Because think about when you guys were kids. How often was I laying on the couch? Now I had a very physical on your feet all day job, but after that, I'm not working out. I ain't making healthy dinner. I'm laying on the couch because I'm worn out because I'm carrying 300 pounds around for a 15-hour shift. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
my biggest regret is that I didn't start sooner because I look at Richie's life and I look at your life and I look at Dee's life and I'm like, I wasted so much of y'all's life not being as healthy and happy as I am now. I'm like, I'm a grandma now and I feel better than I did when you were 5 and 6. You know what I'm saying? I'm healthier and I'm stronger and I'm able to do whatever I want. Where when you were a kid, and we did a lot of stuff together as a family, but I feel like we could have done so much more if I would have taken better care of myself. And I can't tell you how many people, when I meet them for the first time, they'll say, well, I have to have that stuff in the house. Like it's hard for me, but I have kids. It would be like if you were
Hmm.
trying to lose weight and you're like, well, I have to have ice cream and cookies and potato chips because Lila's here. It's like,
Right.
why do you want her to eat the stuff that you know is bad for you? And it's not to say you can never, ever, ever have it. I'm not the kind of person where I'm like, cut things out 100% because you can't live like
Right.
that.
You can't. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be in your house 100% of the time. Like take her out to get a scoop of ice cream twice a month or, bake homemade cookies like you guys do
Hmm.
instead of just having things sitting around available all the time. Why do you want that stuff for your kids? Your kids will be like Richie. Richie was 5. He was like you. He was used to fast food, hot dog, hamburger, pizza, all the junk stuff. And then one day that stuff just stopped. He lived. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's healthier
He's
and
fine.
stronger now than he would have been. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he doesn't know any better. And I'm like, your kids will fall in line and feel better just like you will.
Hmm. And it's as strict as we are about food in our house, because we are. We're I would say out of majority of the people I know, I am pretty strict about food. I'm pretty strict about a lot of things that come into our house, fragrances, technologies. I think a lot about hormone balancing, just a lot of things I'm pretty strict about. So, and we're strict. Lyle's not allowed to go to sleepovers either. So we're strict on that too. But she has friends come over to our house, and I used to think that she would worry that the friends don't get like the junk food and stuff. They are fine. I cook
Mhm.
homemade meals for them, and they say, her friend came in the kitchen one morning and said, Miss Shelby, are you cooking something again? After I made her like some homemade turkey sausages the night before and Brussels sprouts, and she ate everything. She was like, are you cooking something again? I said, yeah, I'm making banana nut muffins. You're not allergic to nuts or anything, are you? She was like, no. She said, I just smelled them. I said, do you want one? She said, I'll taste it with you. And I was like, okay. And she was fine. And I was making like banana nut muffins, like the healthiest kind I could. They were like bran muffins, and she was eating them up. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
kids will adjust and they will be fine, and they'll appreciate it more in the long run of not
Yeah.
having to, you don't want to be so strict that they don't know what a sweet is, probably, because then if they taste it, they might go on the opposite end and go on like a bender of having to have it all the time. But if
Right.
they're used to having a large liter Mountain Dew every single day since they were 10 years old, and then you try to break that habit, they're going to be more grateful in the long run that they don't have to overcome stuff like that, and they know their bodies and they know when they want to stop, and they
Right.
don't need the sweets all the time. Then they will be satisfied for those 5 minutes that they had a sugar rush because So
Right.
yeah,
And
I
I
agree.
think it's good sometimes to talk to your kids about, how they feel after they eat certain things. Cause I do have people in
Mhm.
my group that have kids that are about Lila's age or younger. And one of the girls, her daughter would say, I'm not eating that because my body's not a trash can. It's like, that's right, girl. And so, but the kids pick up on it and they see
Mhm.
that you're happier and that you're healthier and that mom's not laying around on the couch. And when you let them know, like, hey, mom's going to be doing this for an hour every morning between this time and this time. And then I got you. Like, then we're going to do the stuff that we need to do to get
Yeah.
you ready for school. But when they see you making yourself a priority, then they also learn that they are important enough to do things just for them. Because as moms, and as wives and as women in general, and I know men have these issues in different ways, but we put everybody else first. So it's like, well, I can't go to the gym because I have
Mhm.
to do this and this and this and this for every other person in the world, or I can't prep my meals because I have to do this and this and this. But you have got to take time for yourself. And so if somebody is struggling with that, I usually challenge them to find 5 minutes a day that's just for them. I don't care if you read a book, I don't care if you lock yourself in a closet, but 5 minutes a day where you're not doing anything for anybody else but you. And then we're going to build on that and we're going to make it 10. And you tell the kids, like, hey, mommy's going to set a timer. And until that timer goes off, you don't talk to mommy and you go do your thing.
Yeah.
And, or if you have to wait until somebody else gets home to help with the kids, I mean, I understand, different ages and stuff, but you kind of build that expectation of, I'm going to do this. And we call it sharpening your saw. So if you think about sawing a log, once the blade gets dull, you can keep the movement going, but nothing's happening. So you have to stop,
Right.
sharpen the saw, and then you can start cutting again. So if you take care of yourself, then you're better able to take care of everybody else. I think one of the things that makes what we do so different than everybody else is that we focus so much on the mental and the emotional side of
Mhm.
transformation and weight loss. And we have people that want to gain weight, like we have people that struggle on the total opposite end of the spectrum. And so um when people are trying to change their lives, there's this whole mental aspect. I still, if I order stuff online, I order stuff, it's always way too big because I still buy for that fat girl that I used to be and not the size that I
Mhm.
am now. So it's funny how we see ourselves a certain way. It's such a mental game. And then you'll
Yeah.
see like celebrities, and I've heard people call it the Lizzo effect, like where Lizzo says it's okay to be fat, so everybody's going to be fat, and it's like that's not what she says. She says it's okay to love yourself how you are. It doesn't mean that
Right.
you're not striving to be healthier or get into better shape or to feel better about yourself, but you have to start with loving yourself who you are and how you are right now. Because think about just things that you do for other people. If you absolutely hate me, you don't want to do anything for me, right?
Right.
So when I used to hate myself for who I was and how I was, I didn't want to drink water, I didn't want to go for a walk, I didn't want to meal prep because I don't even like her, right? Why do I want to do anything
Mhm.
for her? But when you love someone, it's much easier to take the time to take care of them, to fix their meals, to get their water bottle ready, to put on your shoes and go for a walk because you're doing it for someone that you love. And that is a huge difference. And so, a big part of real, true transformation is starting to love yourself the way you are right now and appreciating all the wonderful
Right.
things that your body does for you every day, even if it's not exactly how you want it to be. You're still lovable, you're still worthy, and you have to know that and believe that, and then the rest of it kind of starts to fall into place.
And you probably needed that time to just be able to want to spend alone time with yourself. Like, it's a lot on your mental to go outside and walk without headphones by yourself for 10 minutes, let alone an
Right.
hour. And you have to,
Oh, yeah.
it's almost like having a conversation with a complete stranger. Like, you can't do that if you're not used to being with yourself. And there's so many distractions, the TV, the TikTok, the Instagram, the scrolling, the Facebook arguments. You can go to work late. I mean, it's easy to keep yourself from making that connection with yourself. And And I saw this when I was doing, closet consultations and styling. There was always that pile of clothes in women's closets. And I'm like,
Right.
what is all of this there? And it was like, either this is the stuff that I want to get back down to the size so I can wear all of this stuff. And then it would be like, and I'm like, none of these jeans fit you. Well, in case I gain weight again, or until I get to my goal weight, I don't want to buy any more jeans. Celebrate the size that you are right now. Don't walk around with diaper butt jeans on, walking around looking like your jeans are 4 sizes too big because you lost some weight. Give those to someone that needs those size jeans right now. Get the pair that fit you right now. And when you get smaller, get the pair that fits you then. Like, you don't need to be, every time you walk into
Right.
your closet and you see that size 2 and you're currently a size 8, it is mentally pushing you back down to, I still can't wear those, still not good enough for that. Like, you know
That's
what I
right.
mean? Like, if it's
Right.
a wedding dress or something, maybe, but something like a pair of jeans that you can go to Goodwill and get a pair that fits you for $3. No, like, you need to get those mental blocks out of your way. So how long do you think that it took you to get from that place where you felt, I don't want to say depressed because you didn't say that word, but where you felt like, you know, in a darker place where you
Right.
weren't trying to celebrate yourself, to now where you do want to
Yeah.
take care of those things and spend time with
Right.
yourself?
So, I mean, 100%, honest, it is a work in progress all the time. Like, I still have days, and I think that's everybody. I think we all have days where we're like, oh, you're never going to make it, or you're not good enough for this. And then you catch yourself. So a big part of it is kind of retraining your brain so that as soon as you hear that negative voice, because that negative voice kicks in so quick, it's like, it's hard to
Mhm.
stop it. Because as soon, like where I'm doing the coaching, when Bruce called me and said, hey, somebody's leaving, do you want to step in and take over that team? My first instinct was, yes, like, I'm certified, I'm ready to go, I've been training for this, let's do it. And then immediately I was like, well, I don't look like any of the other female coaches. Like, I have, like, I have
Mhm.
loose skin everywhere. Is anybody going to want to listen to me? Am I good enough to do that? I mean, that negative voice and all the questioning immediately kicks in. And so the biggest thing I think for people to take away is the beliefs that we have today are based on the experiences that we've had in our lives. So when
Mhm.
you think about losing weight, and I listed 15 things that I tried before I ever had success, right? Every single time you try something new and you don't reach your goal, that's another failure, right? In
Right.
your mind, in your heart and soul. And so it builds the belief that I'm never going to do this. It builds the belief that I will never reach my goal because I've never done it before. Every time I try, I
Right.
fail. And so you build the belief. If I tried to run a 10K today, right? 6 point whatever miles it is. If I tried to just go today after not running for years and just tried to run it and I couldn't run it, I immediately build the belief that I can't do it, right? So the way that you change your mindset, the way that you retrain your brain is you start having new experiences that lead to different beliefs. So as soon
Mhm.
as I started really being successful and really being able to sustain it and maintain it, then I start having the belief that I can do it. And so, and I have done 10Ks and I've done a bazillion 5Ks and I hike mountains all the time. And I'm training for a marathon hike, which is 26.2 miles. And so it's all this stuff that if somebody would have said, hey, Brandi, you should do a marathon hike 10 years ago, I'd have been like, hey, you're stupid. But now it's like, yeah, I should totally do that. Like, let's think of one more crazy thing to do. So it's, there's so much into it and it sounds so simple. But as soon as you start building that mojo and kind of having the small victories every day, then you start going, I really can do this. And once you're kind of like, I have people on my team that are on fire. And it's like, there's nothing you can do to stop these women right now because they believe in themselves so much. And we're such a tight group. And so if you don't believe in yourself today, I believe in you for both of us
Mhm.
until you're back tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And we all have bad days, but we're so honest about it. And we can talk about anything with
Right.
each other because we've been together for a long time. And even when we get new people, it feels like they've been with us forever. So it's one of those things where if you want to change your mindset, if you want to change the way you feel about yourself, you've got to have new experiences so that you can have a better belief. Does that make sense?
So to set those new experiences, like you were saying, instead of starting off with, I'm going to lose 50 pounds next week, you would say, today I am going to limit myself to having one sweet treat, or today I
Right.
want to hit my protein goal, or I'm going to eat a vegetable with every single meal. Just something
Right.
like that that's a little bit more attainable and more immediate, because I've done that too, where it's like, I'll never eat another sweet again starting tomorrow after I eat this entire thing of Oreos.
Yeah.
And it's like,
After
really, girl?
me and Aunt Sandy, my sister, your Aunt Sandy, I can't tell you how many nights we stayed up until midnight eating all the food we could eat in the house because we were starting our diet at midnight. It
Hmm.
started the next day. And so we would eat everything we could. So it's like, we're going to gain 10 pounds today so that we can start tomorrow.
And then
And
tomorrow we'll say we lost 10 pounds.
yeah. And then tomorrow you're like, oh, I blew it. Let's eat everything today and we'll start again at midnight. So
Yeah.
it definitely, but you have to, it's so funny because people think the secret to weight loss and maintaining, like a healthier lifestyle is macros and movement and water. And those things are super important. So I'm not saying no to that. But the true secret, I'm going to tell you guys what it is. The true secret to success is integrity and keeping your promises. And so when you tell people they don't have integrity, they immediately get offensive and get mad and, get on the defense and go, yes, I do. And you do for other people. So, like if I
Right.
lived in your neighborhood and I said, hey, Shelbs, let's go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 6 a.m., you'd show up every time for me, even if you wouldn't show up for yourself. So, I don't live in your neighborhood. So, if you said to yourself, I'm going to go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m., it's a lot easier for you to hit that snooze on your alarm because you're not letting anybody down, but you
Hmm.
are. You're letting yourself down.
Right.
You're not keeping promises to yourself. So exactly what you said is perfect. You want to make promises to yourself that you can keep because that's how you start to build that belief. That's how you start to change your experiences. And so I have people who their promise is, I'm going to make my bed every morning. I'm going to hit my water goal today. I'm going to hit my step goal. I'm going to eat protein with every meal. And some people have one promise because they're just starting out. Some people have 3 or 4 promises because they've been doing it for a while. But if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits, it's a really good book. And you don't think about how instinctually, is that a word? We do things every day. So, like, if you pay attention in the morning when you put your shoes on, do you go right sock, right shoe, left shoe? You do it the exact same way every single day, and it's just a part of who you are because it is a habit. So when
Hmm.
you start stacking your habits, it's where I drink this 3 times a day. I don't even have to think about it. I hit my water goal. Like water's not something where I have to go, oh my God, I have to think about water all day, every day. In the beginning, I did. In the beginning, I had to think, yeah, everybody drink the water. Mm. In the
Yeah.
beginning,
Grab
I
a
had to
sip,
think about
everybody.
it. In the beginning, I had to think about it all the time because it wasn't something I was used to doing. But now that water is just a part of who I am, that's not something that I necessarily have to track or think about. It's just a habit. It's just me. It's like putting my right shoe, left shoe on every day. And so once you have something and it becomes a habit, then you add the next thing. And then when that becomes just part of who you are, then you add the next thing. And so that's how you stack your habits and it doesn't become so overwhelming. Because when you go, hey, starting tomorrow, I'm going to hit my protein, I'm going to hit my calories, I'm going to hit my steps, I'm going to drink my water, I'm never going to eat sugar again. That'll last for about 20 minutes. And then we all
Yeah.
quit because it's overwhelming. Even if you do it for a couple of days, it's too much too fast and people cannot stick to that. It has to be something that you can do for life. So when people ask me about keto or all these other diets, I'm like, hey, I don't have anything against it. Can you do it forever?
Yeah.
Forever. Because if you
Yeah.
can, then knock yourself out, but it's not easy to sustain. I've done not keto, but I've done super low carb, like no processed sugar, no really highly processed foods at all. And I can tell you, I felt better than I've ever felt. It's hard to sustain that when it's that strict all the
It's hard
time.
to go to a restaurant and be able to enjoy stuff. I know one of the guests we've had on before talked about that, and she went strict like raw vegan. And she was like, I was miserable and I thought about meat, steak, burgers constantly. And I was like, I need to give my body what
Right.
it wants. Like, I can't do this all the time. So this is another question that's related, but I wasn't going to get into it until a little bit later. Just a question that popped in my head after you said that. What do you think about 75 hard then? Because 75 hard gives you not a lot of rules. It's only 5 rules. And I know you've done it a couple
Hmm.
times and you've had your
Hmm.
team do it a couple times. So I'm just curious because 75 hard, I think, is about integrity. But these 5 rules, and just quickly, I mean, obviously, this isn't a plug for 75 hard, but it's like read like 10 pages of a book, drink X amount of water, do a 45-minute workout inside, a 45-minute workout outside, and follow a
Stick to a
diet. It
diet
doesn't say
and
what
no
diet.
alcohol.
Yeah,
And
and
no
yeah, in the
alcohol.
diet you
Right.
can't have any alcohol. But it's like so it's like these
Right.
5 rules and you have to follow them
Right.
for 75 days and if you miss any and you have to take a picture of
You
yourself.
have to
So
take
it's
a
like 6
picture. That's
rules.
right. Yep.
But it's like if you miss any of these 5 or 6 rules, you have to start over at day 1 and I'm like I know a lot of people that tried that and then would quit and then they wouldn't start back over at day 1. They'd just be like no. So is that a good way to kickstart your integrity or is that more like I've been doing it for a couple years, I want to jumpstart? Because that seems
Yeah.
like a slippery slope to
Yeah.
me
Yeah. So
as
here's my thing.
someone who's
So
tried
I
75
have,
hard and quit.
yeah, I have done it before and I didn't make my group do it, but a few people in the group wanted to do it and I did it with them. So we
Yeah.
have done it. Not everybody. And here's my thing. It depends on where you are mentally because there are physical aspects to it. You do 45-minute workout in the morning, 45-minute workout at night. They have to be at least 3 hours apart, one inside, one
Hmm.
outside. I've got the book if anybody needs the rules. So it's a and we work with the First Form guys a lot, and the creator of 75 Hard, I think he owns First Form, but anyway, and they're super great guys. But the it's a mental challenge. So even though there are physical aspects, it's a mental challenge. A gallon of plain water every day, no alcohol. Stick to a diet of your choice, but you got to stick to the diet. I mean, it's just very rigid. And what you'll find is, the first week it's hard. It's really hard. And then the second week, your legs feel like they weigh 750,000 pounds if you're just trying to walk and you're like, why is life so hard? And if you can make it past that wall, then it just becomes almost like stacking your habits where you're just checking the boxes. Boom, boom, boom. And people
Hmm.
have great success. Here's the thing about it. I'm always, especially if somebody's really new to starting a transformation, journey process, whatever you want to call it, because you haven't built those beliefs yet. And if you start something that is this rigid and it is hard. They don't call it 75 hard for nothing. And you fail, you're setting yourself up. And so
Right.
when people talk to me about it, I always try to not talk them out of it necessarily, but we really talk through it. I'm like, let's talk about all the things
Or build
because
up to it instead of just jumping in,
exactly
like build
you
them up
you
to it.
right. Because if you started and you don't make it, if you're somebody like me who's been on a roller coaster of, trying to lose weight your whole entire life, then it's just one more thing that you couldn't do. And
Yeah.
you're reverting back to that old belief. And that's not what we want. Now, when people make it all the way through, do they feel amazing? Do they feel accomplished? Yes, they do. Here's the other thing for anybody out there that's like, hell yeah, I'm going to do 75 hard.
How are you going to maintain it?
2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks before you're done, have a plan. Because what
Hmm.
people do is they do great for 75 days and then it ends and they go buck wild. And
Yeah.
anything that they accomplished, they blow it as soon as it's over. So before it's done, have a plan. And that's with any goal. So like when I had 100 pounds to lose, when you're looking at 100 pounds in the future, it's so far out of reach, it becomes overwhelming and you want to quit.
Yeah.
But when you think my first goal is to get below 290. And then after you get below 290, my next goal is to get to 275 or whatever. And it doesn't have to be a number on the scale. Your goal could be I have this pair of jeans that I can zip, but I can't breathe. And my first goal is for them to be comfortable, or I want how long it takes me to walk a mile. I want to cut a minute off, whatever. It doesn't have to be a number on the scale goal, but set a goal and work towards it. And it has to be so, whether it's 75 hard or whatever, it has to be something that means enough to you for you to buy into the process, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you all day long what you need to do, but if that doesn't mean anything to you, you're not going to want to do it. It has to be something that matters to you. If you want to zip a jacket up, if you want to be able to walk a mile, whatever your goal is, the scale is going to catch up if you're
Yeah.
reaching these other goals, right? So it's once you start to get close. So say your first goal is 10 pounds. We'll just use a number goal because that's easy. Say your first goal is 10 pounds. When you get to 8 or 9 pounds down, you need to start thinking about your next goal. And it can be now I
Mhm.
want to be able to walk a mile, or now I want to be able to do whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you get to, walking 3/4 of a mile, you need to start thinking about your next goal. So the way, because people ask me all the time, like, how do you maintain it? Because I've kept mine off now for what I started in 2011. It's 2023.
Mhm.
So however long that is, it's
Almost
been a long
24,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. So, when people are like, how do you keep it off? Because a lot of people lose it and gain it right back. How do you keep it up? Which I've done 1,000 times. But how do you keep it off? You always have a goal. You always have a goal that you're working towards. And the second thing is you pay it forward. So when you're helping other people learn the things that you've already learned, that you learned the hard way, and you want to make it easier for them, because when you feel like people are kind of watching you, you do better. It keeps you more honest. It
Mhm.
holds you accountable. So have a goal, pay it forward, and if 75 hard is your goal, that's great. I've had people in my group do 75 soft, or they've done like a version of it where it's only 25 days, and maybe they only work
Yeah.
out once a day for 45 minutes instead of twice. So it's a little more doable. Um,
Yeah.
but I have people that have like one lady, she just wants to track her food, and she got up to 166 days solid of tracking, and then she missed a day. And so it's like, what do you do now? And I'm like, so what you do now is you've got a streak of 166. So now we want to get a streak of 167. If this is what you want to do,
Yeah.
I'm not an everyday tracker, and people find
Me
that.
neither.
Well, people go both ways with that. They're like, how do you keep up with what you eat if you don't track? Well, I track it when I prepare it, and I prepare it twice a week. Because if I pull out my phone, if I pull my phone out every time and start typing in everything, I think about food 24/7. It's the
Right. Me
food
too.
noise. And because you mentioned all the weight loss drugs. So since all the weight loss drugs have come out here recently, the newer ones, food noise is a big topic. But once I start tracking every bite I put in my mouth, which can really help some people. For me, it makes the food noise. Then all I'm thinking about is food. And then I start negotiating. Well, I've done so good today. I could have those two
Mhm.
Oreos and still be way under my numbers. So that's why
Mhm.
I can't do it all day, every day. Some people have to do it. Some people, it makes them more successful. It doesn't work that way for me. Everybody's different.
For me, I can't enjoy it, and I really enjoy baking. I really enjoy cooking, and
Right.
it makes me not be able to enjoy to be around food. Or I'll start, like you said, like I'll be like, well, I should probably do 15,000 steps a day instead of 10,000 if if I'm going to eat all the way up to my calorie goal for the day. I'm like, what is going on in my brain?
Right.
But yeah, I'll think about food too often too, but there's like a lot of other things
Right.
that go into it. So you mentioned being able to lose all this weight. You've been so successful. You've been, on this journey for years. What would you consider your biggest milestone? Like, I know you said you had to keep, like, not small. I don't think 10 pounds is a small goal by any means. I haven't been able to reach a 10-pound weight loss that I've been trying to be on. So it's like, what is the big milestone that you hit and you were like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I would get to this place. Like, what do you think that moment was for you?
So there's a lot there's a list, girl. I got a list. We keep a victory list going. So I got a list of things that I've done. I've got a list of, 5Ks, 10Ks, climbing. I've got a list of all of that stuff. I think the biggest thing for me has been the mental transformation. I think, and
Yeah.
you've said like you're a totally different person, and not in a bad
Hmm.
way. It's not like, oh, you think you're all great now because you're skinny. I'm not skinny. I have all kinds of loose, flappy skin everywhere. But it's I'm happier. And I think just getting to a place where I love myself. And I'm never going to be the most gorgeous girl in the room. I'm never going to love
That's
my
not true.
body. Well, there, hey, if I go into the right room, I might be, but I need to pick my rooms. I need to be more, aware when I pick my rooms.
Have you
But
seen that girl that was like, if you think that you're not good looking, it's because you're in the wrong area code. If you've got an Alabama face, you don't need to live in New York City. And I was dying laughing. I was like, I'm moving now. Where should I
right,
go?
I'm
I'm looking
packing
on
my
the
bags.
maps. I
That's
need
right.
to
Well,
have my face align better with my zip code.
that's right. I need to start researching and find out where I should live. But I mean, there are things that I will never love because I did, I weighed 300 pounds. And so you can't see me grabbing my loose belly roll, but I have loose skin everywhere. And so even with that, I have a level of confidence now that I never had. Um, I had a job interview a few years ago for like a different position at work, and they had all these questions they were going to ask. And one of the first things that I talked about was integrity and integrity for myself. And the lady goes, I feel led to ask you totally different questions. And she flipped it over, and then they just started talking to me about me. And so I was thinking either this is really great or they're like, we ain't never going to give her this job, which I did get.
But we'll hire you as a
But,
fitness
but we
coach.
want to, yeah, well, she ain't going to get this job, but we want to talk to her.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I can say that, and hopefully you don't mind me saying this, but being the child of someone that has gone through a huge transformation, weight loss transformation, the mother that I grew up with, especially when times in our life were more stressful and you were more unhappy, I could definitely see a big difference in the way that you handled those things. And again, that's like a big, to put it all on that one thing is a lot, just to put it all on the weight loss because you were also younger. And I mean, there was a bunch of other things, but just comparing it to the way that I grew up to the way that my brother is now growing up years later after you've made this big transformation, it is just night and day. I feel like you handle conflicts completely differently. I feel like you face conflicts more head on and you're more aware and observant of things. And I feel like there's people in our lives and in our family that we're probably can think of right now that when conflicts come, they can't face them. They can't have that integrity. They don't have the courage in themselves to be able to handle these stressful situations and to overcome these difficult things that they need to overcome. And you being able to do that for yourself and have that mental transformation, because there was times where you weren't able to do the things that you wanted to do with us. We did do a lot of things together. We did arts and crafts. We would go hiking. You were our Girl Scout coach. You were our step team coach. Like, you did a ton of stuff with us. But there was also days where you would be on the couch and I could tell you were upset, or I could tell you were just uncomfortable or unhappy. And I can credit it all day to why I have this performance complex of just always trying to make people happy. So it's not a bad thing. It's helped me be successful in other areas, but
You
I
were good
definitely
at it.
see
You're
a
good
big
at it
difference
now,
to now.
and you were good at it then.
Yeah, those were my practice years. Everyone says that they
Yeah,
had to be like a stand-up comedian in like a dark basement. I just was in my living room just pumping them out. All that was all
that's
my good
right.
material. But
That's
yeah,
right.
I definitely see a big difference. So just from a kid's perspective, if you're wondering when is a good time to do it, I mean, just whenever it's the best for you, but it's not going to hurt your kids to not have these fun foods,
Right.
to only have fun foods in the house. It's not going to hurt them if all of a sudden they are going to McDonald's or
Yeah.
Bojangles once a week instead of every single day. But it will hurt them if, God forbid, they lose a parent early to heart attack or you have diabetes. I know our great grandpa had diabetes and he struggled in his
Mhm.
later years. And as your kids and grandkids, you have to watch that. And he wasn't going to stop drinking Coca-Colas and Yoo-Hoos and sugary things with his diabetes. He just let it run rampant. I mean, you have to think about the longevity of your life and what that's worth, like you were talking about before. So I feel like that's so
Right.
important.
Well, and
Um,
and I know, you can't attribute all of it to the weight loss, but it was the process that changed my mindset because
yeah.
mindset is everything and the belief. I mean, I know people listening, they might be like, that sounds dumb. But really, truly think about the beliefs that you have. It really does come from your experiences, whether it's things people have said to you or things that you've done. And so the way to change your belief is to have new experiences. And the only way to do that is to get off the couch and go do it. I mean,
Yeah.
motivation, we say, and uh, I don't know, I guess I can say it on here because it's not really that ugly. And I think I've already said it before, but we say motivation sucks. Motivation
Yeah.
sucks. Be driven. Because and if you've ever listened to David Goggins, motivation is, I'm going to go for a walk today, and you go open the door and it's raining, and so you go back in. Being driven
Yeah.
is, I'm going to go for a walk today, you open the door, it's raining, and you go back in to get your raincoat, and then you go walk in
Yeah.
the rain. So it's a difference between being motivated and being driven, and the mindset is what makes the difference. And it it trickles over into every part of your life, because I'm more confident at work, I'm more confident at home, I'm more confident in life. And it's not because I've lost weight, it's because I've learned to love myself. And I loved myself 50 pounds ago. And and we won't go into all the details, but our whole life changed a few years ago. And the
Hmm.
lowest I've ever been is like 156. And I got back up to 233 because we lost everything in the blink of an eye. Had to buy a new
Yeah.
hat, had to like everything changed. And you were here for a week. You and your sister and your grandparents and Lila were here for a week, and I was okay until y'all left. And when y'all left, I cried every day for 3 weeks. And so it's like, you can't function. And when you lose everything and you have to start all over, and I let myself get back up to 233 pounds. And then that negative voice is on overdrive, because not only do you have to lose weight again, but you know better. You're a coach. You help other people do this.
Hmm.
Why can't you get it together? You know what I'm saying? And so there's so many things that tie into it. And the mindset is the most important part, because if you can figure out what's going on up here, everything else falls into place. When you can learn to love yourself now, everything else gets easier. It's never easy, it gets easier. And the main
And
advice I
is
would give
that
people
the,
is don't wait. Don't wait. Do exactly what we talked about earlier. Pick one thing that you promise yourself you're going to do every day, and start there. Start with one promise. Whether it's, maybe you drink no water and your promise is, I'm going to drink 16 ounces of water every day this week. That's one thing that you weren't already doing. Or
hmm
maybe you eat no vegetables and your promise is, I'm going to eat vegetables with one meal every day. And then once you do that, then you can add in something else. Because I have girls in my group that are your age, and then I have one girl who I love so much. She is 21, maybe almost 22. I still call her 19, and she's like, girl, I am 21 or 22. But all I ever think of is, I wish, because it's my group is all women, and they're mostly my age. And I wish that when I was these girls' age, I had us, because we are quick to
Yeah.
say, you're gorgeous. We love you. You love yourself exactly how you are. And they're doing amazing. But we didn't have that positive influence. We didn't have those positive, strong women that believed in themselves when we were that age. We had the women
Right.
that were constantly on diets, constantly, trying to lose weight, constantly trying to look like people in magazines. And so, it's so amazing to see this group of women kind of, surround these younger women and say, you've got this, girl, you can do it.
And that's what you need. I mean, if y'all need to be held accountable, y'all can comment what you're going to make your promise, your small promise this week, to us, and we'll help hold you accountable. So just let us know what your promise to yourself is for this week, whether it's eating one vegetable a day or drinking your water or whatever. I mean, we want to know. So you talk a lot about your clients. It sounds like you have such an amazing group. I know that you guys do a lot of trips and stuff, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about the group in just a second. But without naming any names, when you're thinking about those clients, what client or coach or person that you've worked with through the Larger Than Life group have you been the most impacted by?
So that's hard, because they are all so amazing in their own way. And oh gosh, there's a couple people I know I can't name by name, um, but there's one lady who I won't say her name. And we talked about walking a few minutes ago with
Mhm.
no headset on. Well, there's a challenge out there called the 12-hour walk. And so the challenge is, you walk outside of your house and you walk for 12 hours. You can't do it with another person, and you can't have your headset, and you have to turn your phone off. For 12 hours, you're with yourself. So she
You
just
trying to get
recently
people
did that.
kidnapped?
Well, you can have your phone on your person. There's an app you can get, and when you turn the app on, it blocks everything else out until you stop
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
So
Yeah,
technically, you could, yeah, but people can't call you. You can't call out. No social media, no podcasts or anything. Um,
like
but
distraction.
yeah, so because really the point of it is to be with yourself and your own thoughts and figure out your stuff, so like one thing that I'll do when I go hike is I'll try to start the first 10 or 20 minutes in silence, and then I'll have music or a podcast, or so it just depends on. And when I
Yeah.
have music on, I still tune it out and get lost in my head. But if I'm listening to a book or a podcast, I listen to it. So anyway, but she is one of, we're always our own worst critic. And she has been with me for a couple of years, and she is absolutely gorgeous, absolutely amazing, like 1 or 2 pounds from her ultimate goal weight. And she works, she works, she works, she works. And she is always so negative about herself. And you, from all of us from the outside looking in, she has totally turned that around. And she'll post stuff like, hey, any other time I would have just been like, nope, I'm not going to go do this today because of this, but I'm out here today in the rain. And she'll send us pictures of her in her poncho.
Good.
Or she's like, I went to my family's house and they had this, 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 and this, and I ate that, but then I brought this on my own. And I mean, just things where she used, or even if she does have a bad day, like, she's doing the Whole30 right now, which is like super clean eating for 30 days,
Yeah.
like only whole foods. And she went to her mother-in-law's house, and she's like, so they're an Italian family, love them so much. And she's like, I ate this one chicken cutlet that was not Whole30 approved, but she made it just for me. And then somebody else had made homemade cookies, and they made them just for me. And they kept saying, but I made them just for you. And they saved me 5 and I ate 1. And she's like, so I didn't come. She's done Whole30 before. And like I said, she's super good most of the time. But her integrity is so strong. She's going to tell us.
Mhm.
And when she hears herself now with the negative self talk, because she'll tell us how she feels out loud. And then she'll say, but I've done this, 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 and this week. And that's the difference. Her mindset is so different. And watching her grow and watching her be able to say, I've done all of these things and I'm proud of myself for that. Even though she's not at her goal weight yet, she has changed so much mentally. And that's, it's the same with all of them. Like that's the part that's so rewarding, is the mental shift. And so Lexi, who is your age, is my work daughter. And she's also lost over 100 pounds. And she just had like the extra skin removed. Like just is now getting back released to start walking again. So like just had it done. But she is another one that works her butt off, and she's so positive, and she does all of our behind the scenes stuff, and she totally plans Epic Weekend, and she gets all of our worksheets together and gets our newsletters together. And but seeing this young woman go from someone that was uncertain and insecure and shy to someone who is helping lead all the teams and helping, like the right hand man to the owner of the entire company and building all the stuff behind this. I mean, it's so awesome to watch these people change mentally, and the confidence when they start changing their beliefs and start believing in themselves. You see it, and that's the best part of
Yeah.
all of it, because the weight loss comes, it totally comes, but the mental transformations are the most impressive. One of the girls um, in my group she still is, like, she's a school teacher, and she lost a lot of weight. She went through a lot of hardship, a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges, and she is now a certified trainer, and she still is a teacher, but she also works at a gym in New York where she trains different classes. So she's like, come out for my hit class and come out for my spin class. And I'm like, girl, I'll wait. Because this is somebody that I've worked with. And I'm like, she's lost so much
Mhm.
weight. She's freaking gorgeous. She does Spartan races on the side. I mean, just for fun. But it's just to see her confidence and the fact that she's doing all of these things when, 75 pounds ago, she wouldn't have been doing that stuff. But every single person, just watching the people in my group that are quiet and shy stick up for themselves at work or at home, or assert themselves even in a meeting that we have on a Zoom call. It's just seeing the changes is insane and beautiful.
It sounds like you truly have such an amazing group and relationship with everybody that's there. And I want to talk a little bit more about that group, about how you can become a part of a group like that, either with you as their coach or with someone else. So just tell me a bit about, like, give me an overview of this program altogether, because there's multiple teams, not just yours. And just
Right.
tell me, you guys, I know you do some trips, you've gone to
Yeah.
Arizona and stuff a couple times. So yeah, just give me like a little rundown of what to expect, or what, when you're talking about larger than life, like what is that?
So, Bruce Pitcher is the founder and owner of Larger Than Life. And he was on the weight loss transformation show. I don't know if all of your listeners will know who Chris and Heidi Powell are, but a lot of people do know.
Hmm.
But they used to do that extreme makeover weight loss edition. So you remember they had the guy
Hmm.
that did the houses, and he'd go move that bus, and then they had a spinoff
Yeah.
for the weight loss. And so Chris would come up to you and go, I choose you. And you'd be like, oh my God. And you'd spend a year with him and lose your weight. So Bruce was on that show. He became really close with Chris and Heidi. And, I have to put a plug in here that Chris and Heidi are the most genuine people you will ever meet in your life. And the way that they are on that show is the way that they are in real life. Chris to
Because
this
you spent a
day,
lot of time with them too.
yeah, if I see his face, he's like, Brandi, oh my God, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh my God, he knows me. So, and people get like that with Bruce, but I've been with Bruce for such a long time that it's just like, that's my brother. It's like if somebody calls your brother, something, you're like, that's my brother. So, with
Yeah.
Bruce, I'm like, yeah, he's my brother. He's cool. I love him, but that's my brother. So, so with Chris and Heidi, we actually worked with them for a while, and then Bruce went off to do his own thing, and I went with Bruce. So I had lost, 80 pounds on my own. And then I lost you kind of get stuck sometimes. And I hadn't done any of the mental transformation work. I was just doing what everybody does, which is the food and the movement, like just the stuff that you can look up and go, oh, here are my numbers. Let's go. So being with Bruce, one of the, because you have to have your why, and, why are you doing this? Why do you want to be successful? What are you really looking for? And one of my things was I wanted to allow myself to feel things and be okay with it, because I had such a wall built up. Because, we've all been through hardships, but we've had ups and downs as a family. And, you build up a wall because as mom, I have to be okay because the kids have to be okay. And so I'm not allowed to show emotion because I got to keep it together so that everybody else is okay. And so I had built that up so well that nothing got to me, like it's like, oh, that happened. Oh, well, let's just keep going. And so then it got to the point where we're on Zooms with Bruce, and every Monday I'm crying and I'm like, hey, man, we can check that off the list. Like, I got that feelings thing down. Let's work on something else. So even with you today, I think I've about cried 5 times. So it's just something I never would have done before. But that's when I really started doing the kind of like emotional work and figuring out why I do the things that I do. And there's people in our groups who have been through like major trauma, like sexual abuse and, just all kinds of things. Like we won't go into all the different traumas, but it's sad how much we all have in common. I think there was one meeting where we were
Hmm.
talking about really intense topic, and over half of the people on my Zoom had been through the same thing. And it's like, why is this the world that we live in? But it's a group where
Right.
we can talk it out, because we hold on to things as people, and that keeps us stuck where we are. We stay in a victim mentality. And the only way to move past it is forgiveness, whether you forgive the other person or you forgive yourself. Ultimately, the forgiveness is for you because it allows you to move forward. So if you're holding on to whatever has happened to you, whether it was as a child, as a young adult, whenever, you can never really let go of it and move on to be a better version of yourself, or to really do the things you want to do, because you're stuck in this victim mentality.
Yeah.
And so you just have to decide, do I want to be a victim? Do I want to let it go and move forward? And in order to let it go, sometimes we have to feel it. We have to work through it. We
Yeah.
have spent our entire lives pushing it down, and now we've got to bring it up. So think about people that have been to therapy. You feel worse before you feel better because you've spent your whole
Right.
life not talking about it. And now you're talking about it. So now it's right here at the top of your mind all the time. And then once you work through it, now you can let it go. Right.
Right. Like
But
truly
initially
let it go.
yeah, but initially it's harder. So we always joke and say that our Monday Zoom meeting is the group therapy that we've all always needed, that we never knew we needed. So my group
Right.
is all women. We keep my group all women on purpose. We also have Bruce, who's the owner. And then we have Jeff, who is freaking madman, amazing, does all kinds of crazy things. He's also lost a lot of weight. For his 52nd birthday, he ran 52 miles.
Oh my
And
gosh.
just to give you an idea of our group, I think I posted it on my TikTok, but just to give you an idea of how our group rolls, when he did that, people flew in from all over. He didn't know they were coming, and everybody would like run a mile with him. He didn't run one single mile alone. We have a person in our group
That's
that's been going
awesome.
through cancer treatments, and she got to ring the bell. People came from all over to show up in Utah wearing shirts for her. She had no idea they were coming. Oh
Oh,
God,
I
for
love
her to
that.
ring the bell. I mean, that's just the
And
kind of people that we are. If you say, I'm going to do this crazy, even if it's just a 10K, but for you it's crazy, or a 5K, but for you it's something you've never done. We have people that will come from Canada. We have people that come from the UK. We have people that will come from all over to do that with you because it's a huge milestone for you. Like, that's how supportive this group is. So we do have a lot of men in the program, and they're on Bruce's and Jeff's team primarily, but we also have a Zoom just for them. It's like the bro group, and Bruce and Jeff lead that Zoom for them, kind of like I have the all women group. So it's just something where it holds the guys accountable, because like where my women get to talk about things they would not feel comfortable talking about if there were guys on our Zoom,
right,
the guys are the
right.
same way. I've had
Yeah.
guys tell me that, they used to sit in, like, go to a restaurant and they'd sit in a booth a certain way so nobody could see their belly. It's like, you don't think about it. We did at Epic Weekend. So Epic Weekend is an event that we do once a year. It's either in Arizona or Utah. We did do it in St. Louis one year at the First Form facility, which was pretty cool. But it's usually Utah or Arizona. And it is a weekend where we really help you build those beliefs. We do some crazy workouts that you didn't know you could do. Nobody's left behind. I don't care if you work out 7 days a week or you've never worked out before. We will make it so that you get to do everything with us. We do a lot of emotional stuff, a lot of emotional stuff. So to me, the workouts are hard, but you're going to live because it's going to be over in an hour, or if it's carnage, an hour and a half. But the emotional stuff is hard to me. That's the stuff. And we'll do things where so one of the things we did this past year was the labels that we carry. And so people wrote down on sticky paper, like, things that they've carried with them their whole lives because of things they've been told, like, you're lazy, you're dumb, you're not good enough, you're not worthy. And they stuck those on themselves. And then we'd have them come up to the front of the room with blindfold. And we had everybody else come and put labels on them of what they see when they look at them, like a
Mm,
hard worker, a team player, somebody that's lovable. And it was so emotional. And we have a lot of volunteers that come there too and help us. And a lot of them are like these buff guys that work out, and they're just like totally tough. And they can't always hang with the kind of workouts we do because it's different than what anybody does every
yeah.
day. And they're totally impressed with the stuff that our group can pull off. I mean, we can get some things done. It's amazing. But those guys would have some of the same labels. Like, I was told I was ugly, I was too slow, I was stupid. And it was kind of one of those things where when you look at these guys that are good looking, buff, super in shape, super healthy guys, and they have the same insecurities and the same labels that we all have. I mean, it's one of those things where I really appreciated them participating with us, because they didn't have to. They could have just been like, we're just here to
Right.
move the people around and we're going to sit in the back of the room. But we would say, hey, do you want to do it? And they would say, oh, yeah, like super excited about it. And for them to have the same insecurities. We had Drew Manning was one of the speakers, and we usually have pretty good speakers. I don't know if you've ever seen like the Fit to Fat to Fit, like where the guy gained all the weight
Yes.
so that he could
Mhm.
lose weight. That's Drew Manning. And
Mhm.
he talked about his insecurities. And he was like, when I gained weight, it's nothing like when you guys have to lose weight, because my set point was already a lower weight. So it's easier for me to get back to a
Right.
lower weight. He said,
Like
and
when
I
you've been
probably
sitting
didn't
at a
get the
higher
same.
weight for years, it's a lot harder to get rid of
Exactly.
years of that kind of treatment of your
Right.
body.
And he said, as a man, I probably didn't get the same, biases and stuff that women get, like even shopping for clothes and stuff. But he started getting choked up just talking about his insecurities in his everyday life of not being a good enough dad, of not being a good enough man, of not being, enough. And it's so crazy when you look at these strong, healthy, good looking men, women, whoever, and they have the same insecurities that I have when I weighed 300 pounds or that I had when I got back up to 230. I mean, it's just kind of it's really eye opening to see different people and you think, oh, they've got it all together. They have no problems, but they really do. And they have the
Right.
same problems that we have. And, we call it lottery syndrome where you wait to be happy, like I'll be happy when I hit my
Mhm.
goal weight. And that's one of the things. It's like, don't do that. Start living your life right now because the people that are skinny have the same problems that you have. If you don't work out the other stuff, you can lose 100 pounds and still be miserable. That's
Right.
why I say the mental transformation for me is more impressive because I still have weeks where I'm like, why am I broke this week? Or I still have weeks where I feel insecure. I still have problems just like everybody else. But at the end of the day, I'm so much happier and so much more confident in myself that, like you
Mhm.
said, I can just handle it better because I'm just in a totally different place.
From
I don't know
working
if
in
that
this
answered
group,
any
I
of
feel
your
like this
questions.
group. No, you did. I feel like this group has really helped you, and it's I see how excited and proud you are to be working with them. Hopefully, we'll be able to come to an epic weekend and help out this upcoming year. Stuart and I.
Yeah.
I know we're wanting to
September,
go
September in Arizona. If y'all want to come, let me know now. And you and
September.
Stuart
What,
can
you
be
know? He's a
volunteers.
Virgo. You know he's a Virgo. We need to know because it's his birthday. But yeah, I would love to
I can
be
tell you the
a.
dates, but we have plenty of people that are at Epic Weekend on their birthday, and we sing to them. And so you're welcome, and he
Oh,
can still come.
yeah, like maybe we can do Epic Weekend now that we've had this, and we can do like a little follow-up mini episode about how I was not able to keep up with any of the workouts.
You can.
So how can everyone
Everybody can.
keep in contact with you on socials?
So if they want to, like follow my Instagram or my TikTok, like you said, it's transforming Brandy at Insta, and it's the transforming. I think is it underscore transforming underscore at on TikTok. But they can definitely follow that to
Brandi
get
is
workouts
also spelled
with an
Brandi, not with a
yes,
Y, just so you
that's right.
know.
And then my email address, I don't know if you put stuff in your show notes, but like if you want
Yeah, I
more
can.
information about coaching, I can give you the link to add into the show notes where people can go read about me and
Yeah,
Bruce and
for
Jeff and
sure.
Wanda because they may look at the other coaches and go, I want to be with Jeff or I want to be with Bruce or I want to be with
Yeah.
Wanda. I don't know if Bruce is taking on more people right now because he does do a show and he does a podcast and he does a lot and he has a lot of people, but Jeff and Wanda and I, we were all with Bruce. So we do the same things in different ways. So they can definitely find out about the other coaches on that link that I send you. And if they wanted to email me, they could email me at Brandi, Brandi at IamLTL.com. So it's like larger than life. So IamLTL.com.
Yeah.
Or if they just wanted info about the coaching program, it's the same. It's info at IamLTL.com. So there's different ways that they can find out. And like I said, the link would let them, if they wanted to talk to a coach or set up a call, they could do that. And there's different levels of coaching too. So there's some that are a little more intense. So of course they cost a little bit more. And then there's some that are way more basic, like just accountability to help somebody kind of keep you on the right path. And those are less expensive. So we have different options for people depending on what they are looking for. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I can't afford to spend money on myself. But then you start to think about all the money you're wasting at Starbucks and fast food. And I ain't got nothing against
Right.
Starbucks. I love me some coffee. But, you start thinking about everywhere you're wasting money and you're spending way more. And people
Or
don't
it's
think
like
they
the
can
holidays
afford.
are coming up. Like
Yeah,
somebody gave me a scale for Christmas last year. Like maybe you
right.
can give somebody the gift of, a restart with a coach or just being able to have that initial conversation, I feel like would be huge.
Yeah, and now we do have a Facebook page that anybody can join, and it's called Living
Ooh, that's good.
Larger Than Life. And it's just for like people that want to be a part of the community, but maybe aren't ready to be in coaching. And the coaches post on there. I post recipes and workouts on there. Jeff jumps on there a lot. Bruce is on there all the time. So you still get the benefit of, getting to know us and getting to know some of the people that are in coaching. And sometimes people will do that for a while and then they decide to do coaching, or maybe they can't afford it. And that's
Yeah.
absolutely fine. I mean, it's not always something everybody can do, but you still get a community of like super supportive people.
And that's what I feel like everybody needs. It's like that community of people that can help hold them accountable, that they can ask these questions to. Why reinvent the wheel when there's people that have already
Right,
been through it, like you said, and, can help you with that negative self-talk and can help you kind of rewrite the narrative in your mind about what you're capable of, and stop setting yourself up for failure. I think it's important. And I feel like it's important to show your kids or your spouse or your family or your friends or
right,
yourself that you're worth, putting this time and energy into. And just like she was saying, it's not all people that have weight to lose. It's people that have, weight that they want to gain or just any type of goal that they're
right.
trying to
Or build
accomplish. It's
build
a whole
muscle.
body transformation. Yeah.
Right.
So I feel
That's
like
right.
this has been amazing. I love talking to you about this. I can just tell how passionate you are about the topic. You've been through every phase of this and we've seen it firsthand and just couldn't be more proud of everything that you've put into it. We love hearing about your coaching. I love seeing the comments from your clients talking about how much you've helped them and how much they love everything that you do to literally change people's lives. And then we also love watching your videos on recipes on TikTok. Me and Lila do. So for everything that you've been doing, we're proud of you. We're so excited. And if you're interested in her coaching, or if you're interested in the Larger Than Life family, or interested in signing up so that you can maybe be eligible for Epic Weekend and see us there, reach out
That's
to
right.
Brandi in any of the forums that she mentioned. I'll have some information in the show notes as well as tagged on Instagram, TikTok, all of the things. And I've heard the little one run in the door, acting a little wild, home from school. So I probably need to go and check on that really
Yeah.
quick. But thank you so much for meeting with me and talking with me. And I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, because we talk every day because I love you so much.
Right?
So
I
thank you
love
for
you
having
too.
me. I appreciate you. I am more proud of you than you could even imagine. And if we ever need to have an episode about trauma, you know that between the two of us, we've been through a lot and we can do that.
A trauma dump episode,
Oh,
because that's what
trauma
everybody
episode.
needs.
That's right.
Yeah. Whose trauma is better? We'll just try to one up each
That's
other's
right. That's
trauma.
right. I think I
Well,
win.
thanks,
No, I'm just
Mom,
kidding.
aka Transforming Brandy. We love you,
I
and
love you.
we'll talk to you soon. Bye,
Yes.
guys. Thank you.
Bye.